Isaiah 42. I'm going to start right at verse 1. You'll find it what you say, amen. Isaiah 42, you'll find these words. Here is my servant, whom I support, my chosen one in whom I take pleasure. I have placed my spirit on him. He will make just decrees for the nations. He will not cry out or shout. He will not publicize himself in the streets. A crushed reed he will not break. A dim wick he will not extinguish. He will faithfully make just decrees. He will not grow dim or be crushed before establishing justice on the earth. The coastlands will wait in anticipation for his decree. This is what the true God, the Lord, says. The one who created the sky and stretched it out. The one who fashioned the earth and everything that lives on it. The one who gives breath to the people on it and life to those who live on it. I, the Lord, officially commission you. I take hold of your hand. I protect you and make you a covenant mediator for peoples and a light to the nations, to open blind eyes, to release prisoners from dungeons, those who live in darkness from prisons. I am the Lord. This is my name. I will not share my glory with anyone else, for the praise due me with idols. Look, my earlier predictive oracles have come to pass. Now I announce new events before they begin to occur. I reveal them to you. Let's pray. Father God, we thank you again for the reading and hearing of your word. Now, Lord God, I ask that you would have not your name. Father God, let your word go forth today. Let it break hearts. Tell those who may not know you and come. Encourage those who hear your life and may be struggling to continue on this journey of faithful. Lord, let it mold us and transform us to continuous likeness of your Son, Jesus Christ. That we'll be better people going out into the field than we were when we came into the house. Have your way, Lord. This is my prayer. In Jesus Christ, amen. Just for a moment. I want to talk with you from the text, turning stumbling blocks into steppers. Turning stumbling blocks into steppers. Things can be great. Things can be going well. Everything can be moving on schedule just as you had planned. And suddenly, from out of nowhere, a glitch can get in your way. You could have been working on a deal that worked for weeks, months, and all of a sudden you hit a wall and everything comes crashing down. A wedding, a special event, a purchase, a planned activity, some event, and all of a sudden everything falls apart. Life has its own unique way of putting stumbling blocks in our path. And I seriously doubt that there is anyone under the sound of my voice who has been in this life and not experienced a stumbling block. Our ancestors, for those who may be familiar with some of these cliches, our ancestors used to describe stumbling blocks. They said things like, nothing comes easy. Good things are hard to come by. You get what you pay for. Heard of that one? You get out of it what you put in. Good things cost. And I think we can all agree that stumbling blocks are pretty much a given in life. Whatever you're doing, we gotta get to a point. Whatever you're Whatever you're doing, wherever you're going, whatever you're trying to accomplish, we ought to get to a point where we expect stumbling blocks along the way. Every individual, every person will experience at some point in their life stumbling blocks. Stumbling blocks can cause the average person to crawl under covers, to want to quit, to want to throw in the towel, to want to give up and never try again. Stumbling blocks have a way to cause some people to want to commit suicide because it's just too much for them to handle. Stumbling blocks come in all forms, all shapes and sizes. Some we create ourselves. Some are put in our way by others. Some are in the atmosphere. They come from hurricanes, storms, tornadoes, floods. Some are caused by our own human will and our disregard for the will of God. Through the act of wars, fruition, and all these different things, bigotry and the willful neglect of our own brothers and sisters who we know are in need that we ignore. These are the things that create for us stumbling blocks. In this text, Isaiah 42, the ancient nation of Israel found herself confronting one of her many stumbling blocks. And I will be honest, it was one of the worst that she could have ever encountered. It was, as the word tells us, that Israel was a participant in creating her own stumbling block. She was guilty of turning away from the way God had designed for her to be. She was a blessed nation. She had been provided for. She had her God meet every one of her needs, but yet she chose to turn away from God. She began to wallow in bigotry, discrimination, and prejudices against her own kind, against her own people, to the point where it divided the nation, created dissension and tension and destruction, and left the poor and the orphans and widows to fend for themselves, while the rich kept getting richer. The lesson that the nation of Israel had to learn is the same that we in this country have to learn ourselves, and not just the country, but even as individuals. We must understand that the wages of sin is still death. And there are times in our lives when we forget that our decisions and the very things that we decide to do create for us, not just sometimes stumbling blocks for ourselves, but they also create stumbling blocks for other people. And just for a second, I want to make sure you have a context of what a stumbling block really is. See, a stumbling block is a hindrance. It is an obstacle. It's the very thing that gets in your way that keeps you from being able to accomplish something that has been designed for your progress or your prosperity. It is the very thing that blocks you from being able to have access to the thing that God has designed for your benefit. And sometimes, listen, if you look at the nation of Israel, they got to a point where they started to do stuff that caused God to have a nasty taste in his mouth about his people. And I want to make sure you understand that it doesn't matter how stumbling blocks occur. You got to get to a point in your life where you can't stay in the condition that you're in. Because once you become aware of it and you don't do anything about it, you're living on death row. It's just a matter of time before you meet your final destination of destruction. But when you find that you're facing a stumbling block and you're confronting it, you have to be able to use that stumbling block as a stepping stone. and not just a stepping stone, because there's a progression in it. First, you got to understand how to stand on it. And listen, once you get to a point where you recognize it and you can stand on it, then you'll start to use it to help you progress as you need to progress to get to the place that God has for you. But in order for you to get to that place, you got to be able to recognize there are some things that you got to be able to recognize and do to turn stumbling blocks into stepping stones. As I said to you, some crawl under the covers when they're facing stumbling blocks. Some commit suicide when they're facing stumbling blocks. But you heard Isaiah come with a word to the people of God. Listen, I love God because he always sends a word. And now you may not hear it, you may not want to listen, but he always sends a word for his people. And he sends the prophet with a word to tell them, listen, I'm the one who made you. And the very thing that you're doing for yourself is in opposition of what I designed you for. It's creating in you, it's separation from me. It's causing you to go in the opposite direction. It's causing me to be disgusted and frustrated. But I love you enough to give you another opportunity. And so I need you. I want to send somebody with the word to warn you and condition you and caution you and provide you with the necessary instruction to turn this thing around if you listen. And so Isaiah comes and he tells them, I need you to stand on the stepping stone. I need you to kick the idolatry. I need you to stop hating on your folks. I need you to start operating in love. I need you to start producing the fruit that I placed inside of you from the beginning. The seed that's been deposited into your spirit. I need it to start to show me the love that I desire. I need you to use the very things that have been causing you to stumble as stepping stones to come closer to me. Listen, what a shift this can mean for us today when we get to a point we confront stumbling blocks. We don't hide under the cover. We don't run and throw in the towel. We don't quit and give up. When we get to the point where we can take a few minutes. I understand, listen, I don't know what your stumbling block may be. Maybe you're dealing with some kind of issue in your home or your finances are creating. You haven't been good stewards over your resources. I get it. I understand you haven't been in church your whole life. You haven't always honored God the way you should have. But I want to help you understand. Listen, go ahead and have a few minutes for a pity party. Go ahead and take a few minutes and feel sorry for yourself. But at some point, you got to move on past. Can't spend your whole life wallowing in pity and sorrow because you made a few mistakes. God said, I know what you've been doing. Yes. But enough is enough. Yes. It's time to get about my business. It's time to come into the existence. The reason I designed you. I made you to live, not to die. I made you to be prosperous. I made you to be a great nation. So the prophet tells us and instructs us on how to turn our stumbling blocks into standing and stepping stones. Listen, the first thing, if you got your phones, I know this is a technology generation. Take your phones out if you got your phones with you. I'm not going to, if it charges you minutes and time, I apologize, but I want you to text this message, tweet this message, or Facebook this message to somebody or to whoever you can reach out to. It says, when you come to your stumbling block, know with all confidence that you belong to God. And determine, when you come to your stumbling block, know with all confidence that you belong to God. And then determine. That means you make a conscious decision. Ain't nobody tricked you. You didn't stumble up on it. No, you determined for yourself. You made a conscious decision that you are going to live right Whatever comes your way. Tweet that to somebody. When you come to your stumbling block, know with all confidence that you belong to God, and determine that you are going to live right whatever comes your way. Verses 5 through 6 helps us here. Understand that stumbling blocks can cause us to doubt. Stumbling blocks can cause us to question our faith. Stumbling blocks can cause us to start to have disbelief and suspect and question God. Stumbling blocks can tempt us to try some strange, crazy stuff that don't line up with what we know is right. Stumbling blocks. Listen, remember Jesus. He right after he was baptized, and right after he had just gone through the purification, the cleansing, he had gone through the restoration. He had just gotten baptized, and right after that, the devil comes with some stumbling blocks in his path. Standing on his faith, he was able to demonstrate who he belonged to. You got to be able to, listen, I want to help you understand, listen, you already know they're coming. You already know you're going to have to deal with it. The difference is you have to be a determined child of God and understand that nothing is going to deter me from who I serve. And the difference between the children of Israel at this time, the people, the nation, they had gotten lost, they had gotten confused, they had gotten so caught up in their own selfishness that they had lost sight of who God was. In our life, listen, people, we have to remember that nothing that we have, nothing that we own, nothing that we occupy belongs to us. None of the things that we struggle with, none of it is to harm us. When you understand who made you, when you understand who loves you, when you understand the design that God has for you, then you don't mind going through the struggle to keep your hand in his hand. You don't mind going through persecution because you know the ultimate reward that's coming. See, but when we lose sight of God in the process, then it's easy for us to see the storms in our life. It's easy for us to recognize the pain that we're struggling with. It's easy for us to keep to notice the trials that we're facing because we're looking at it from a physical standpoint. But when you're operating in a spiritual condition, you understand and believe that all things work together for those who love the Lord. Yes. And I want to come this morning and encourage you to understand that and regardless of your stumbling block, he's still God. And when you operate with, no matter what the condition is, what you're facing, what circumstance you might be encountering, I don't care what the rent's due. I don't care what the health situation, what the doctor's report was. I don't care what the attorney said. I don't care what they're talking about behind your back. I don't care what they said on the job. I want you to understand that God is still God all by himself. He's still the one who gives. He's still the one who provides. He's still the one who takes care of the believer, of the one who has given their life to him, who's committed to them. And so not only do we have to make sure we have a determination to live as if we belong to him. Because listen, I want to make sure because be honest, sometimes we get so caught up that we live separate from him. Listen, you know how you got some family members that you in the family, but you haven't seen each other for a long time. And you haven't talked with them for a long time, but you still claim them as family. But see, no, but we can't treat God like that. God is expecting us to commune with him on a regular. He's expecting us to have some conversation with him on a constant basis. He's expecting you to seek him continuously all the time. He's expecting you to have the kind of confidence when you incur a situation that looks devastating to stand and trust him in the midst of it. And listen, when you start having a doubt and a swaying mind, remember what the word of God says, that you're double-minded and you can't serve God. can't split hairs. There's no gray area in this walk. Either in or you're out. Either on board or you're not. But I love God because not only does he want us to be determined to live right, whatever comes our way, but he also wants us to understand. Listen, this second point I want to throw at you is, and I'm going to be honest with you, this is a tough one because he also wants us to understand the stumbling blocks, to use them as stepping stones. We have to also reach out to people who are dealing with conditions like ours. In your own crises and devastation, reach out to those who are suffering like you and those who might be in worse condition than you. I'm going to be honest with you. Sometimes, people of God, this is where we struggle. We're so focused on our own pain that we don't understand how to serve. You missed that one. Don't be honest. Because this is why I want to help you. We're so focused on our own circumstance, what we don't have, how we're feeling, what we're going through, that we miss the opportunity to be a testimony for somebody else. Oh, I want to help you. Listen, some might say, how can I reach out to others when I'm hurt? I'm sick. I'm dealing with my own shortcomings. I'm dealing with my own struggle. And you want me to just brush that aside and go help somebody else? What about me? I need help. Ain't nobody help me. And God said, no. This is what I need from you. I need for you to trust me. Because if you're helping someone who's like you, then you can witness to them about the goodness of God in this situation. You can be a testimony for me. You can be a mouthpiece for me. Because that is exactly the purpose I called for you. When I need for you to be encouraged, I need for other people to see my work in your life, in this circumstance, so they can be encouraged when they encounter theirs. But if you keep it all to yourself, if you spend your whole time in a pity party, if you spend your whole time under the covers, if you spend your whole time locked behind closed doors, then my people won't be encouraged. And they'll think they're by themselves when they come into the struggle of the consequence of their own actions. Listen, I want to help somebody understand. Listen, I know you made a bad decision. I know you wasn't always living right. But somebody in here also knows that they were in the same condition. And the Spirit of God showed up. And they need to hear from you what it's like when they repent and ask God to come in. And if you keep your mouth closed, then they don't get the blessing. They don't get the opportunity to hear a testimony, to see God's work in your life. And I want to make sure you understand that is exactly what God is calling from his people when he talks about all of us have been called into ministry. Remember the thief on the cross who cried out to Jesus, remember him? And Jesus said, brother, you see I'm up here with you in the same condition. But Jesus said, listen, but in a moment I shall see you in paradise. You got to understand, listen, Jesus, he pitied those who had heavy hearts. He always went to the poor. He always served and catered to those who were sitting, who had less, who were in desolate situations. He always was there reaching out to those who was in a worse situation than him, because he understood what it felt like being persecuted. He understood what it was like to be poor. He understood what it was like to be hungry. He understood what it was like to be homeless. He understood what it was like to not have a place to lay your head. Remember, he was born. He didn't have a place to lay his head when he came in. I want to help you understand. You got to understand your purpose for going through the struggle of your storms is to help somebody else, bless somebody else. And listen, if you don't let them become stumbling blocks, then you'll use them to be stepping stones. You can't let them become places where you spend depression, places where you spend isolation, places where you spend all your time hiding. And not only can you get to a place where God will use your stumbling blocks, where he wants you to reach out to those who are less fortunate. He wants you to reach out to those who are suffering like you, those who might be in a worse condition. But not only that, the last thing I'll share with you is that he wants us to take hope and encouragement. That stumbling blocks are God's opportunity for you and I to stand and step through. See, I don't know if you get this, but when the stumbling blocks are in our life, when those obstacles are in our life, when we're facing those things that are hindering us, and we make a determined decision, all right, to serve God regardless, then in that we serve God by reaching out to those who may be dealing with the same kind of stuff we're facing. You know what you're facing. And so when you start doing those things and you're networking and you're reaching out and you're helping and you're ministering and you're praying and you're crying and you're laughing and you're fellowshipping and you're all of those things you're doing in spite of your circumstance, in spite of the stumbling block, in spite of the hindrance, the obstacle that you're dealing with in your life, then what comes is that you're in that the opportunity. God uses your stumbling block as a stepping stone. You're able to not just stand on it, but you're able to then start to take progressive steps to the next place of destination that he has for you. And listen, some of us, to be honest, why we can't get to the place God has for us is because we're struggling with our stumbling blocks. We won't stand on it, and we won't trust God with it, and we won't, and so it's keeping us from moving. We're standing in one place. We're not moving because we're holding it ourselves. And God said, no, I need you to move it out of the way. I need you to turn it loose to me. And when you give it to me, I'll do something with it that you can't do. Yeah. And when I do that, listen, he says, take hope and encouragement. That when you turn it loose, because you're not holding on to it. It doesn't keep you grounded. It doesn't stop you from worshiping. It doesn't stop you from praying. It doesn't stop you from serving. It doesn't stop you from coming. It doesn't stop you from being all I called you to be. When you get to that place, then I'll move in your life. Yeah. And that very thing that was hindering you, I'll use it to elevate you. I'll use it to help you take a step above and beyond what you even thought you could do. All right. For yourself. He'll open doors. He'll use stumbling blocks to help you get through doors that was closed. Somebody waiting for a breakthrough, just keep using stumbling blocks. And your stumbling blocks at some point will become your access walkway. Your stumbling blocks, somebody's stumbling blocks is going to become an escalator for how they move to a whole nother level. I want to help you understand. Listen, not only will he use your stumbling blocks to help you break through, to get through new doors in your life, but I want to help somebody understand. Listen, you've been waiting for new ventures, new experiences, new opportunities. He said, I got you covered because you trusted me in your stumbling block. You trusted me when you were going through it. You trusted me. You were determined to stay with me regardless. And now I want to take the very hindrance and elevate you on it. And so you're in new positions you didn't even expect. Opportunities are flourishing in your life that you hadn't been prepared for, that nobody can understand, nobody can comprehend. They're still trying to figure it out. And you say, no, you can't figure it out because the one who had it, he's worked it out for my benefit because I trusted him. It's beyond your understanding. And sometimes if we trust him, regardless of our knowledge, regardless of what we know, or what we think, remove emotion, remove thinking, and truly have a heart to serve. Just trust him. Not only will he elevate you and open doors new ventures, but he'll create opportunities for you to have new vistas. Vistas, yeah, vistas. Let me help you understand what a vista is. You'll be able to, you ever look down a row of trees and you see the rows of trees, but right between the trees is just a narrow perspective, and at the very end, it opens up to this beautiful vision.
Come on.
Stuff that you couldn't see before.
Yes.
He'll let you see the splendor
Yes.
because of the commitment you made to stay with him, regardless of what you were doing. God will work through your stumbling blocks. The open doors that will close, he'll behold new things in your life. And he'll make you a better man, a better woman, and a better Christian. Stumbling blocks offer us new directions for our lives. Stumbling blocks can help us to see God's will and way clearer for our living. We have to be able to trust God and not get discouraged when we're facing and dealing with stumbling blocks. Stumbling blocks are a way for God to take you to a whole nother level, but you have to trust and believe.